Hello and welcome to Crypto Novus News, where we bring you the top news stories of the day in the world of crypto. Today is November 28th, 2020, and this week, China, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, and cryptocurrencies are in the headlines. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Faith Finance. Remember, live faithfully today, live abundantly tomorrow. Yes, China is in the headlines again, but this time not regarding any virus. John Ratcliffe, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, has reported penning a letter to the Securities and Exchange Commissions expressing a concern about China's control over Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. The Washington Examiner, in this article, released a story earlier this week and reported that Ratcliffe wrote the SEC Chairman Jay Clayton this month with concerns about China's dominance over the world's cryptocurrency mining sector, as well as the Chinese government's plans to establish a state-controlled digital currency. Allegedly, the U.S. Director of National Intelligence wants the CEC to implement a regulatory framework to make it easier for U.S.-owned companies in cryptocurrency to operate and compete with Chinese firms. The report says that Ratcliffe offered to have the senior economic intelligence officials brief the CEC chairman, Jay Clayton, on the issues. The Examiner also quoted an unnamed senior intelligence official who said that there are serious national concerns about China's control over both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that China's CBDC and artificial intelligence measures would cement its dominance in technologies and innovations that are likely to run the world for decades to come. Now, this is really important because, as we all know, cryptocurrencies are issued without backing of a central bank, and they're privately held and they're privately distributed. A CBDC, or a central bank digital currencies, are different. They are digital currencies which holds the same value as fiat currencies issued by the country's central bank. Deutsche Bank, in response to China's push for the CBDCs, did a report back in September, and it made a couple of observations. The first was that by issuing one of the first CBDCs in the world, China would become a world leader in science and innovation by 2050 and provide a reserve currency which will have a domestic and international ramifications as countries that are involved in China's One Belt and One Road programs could be the first adopters, followed by companies which trade with or in China. The second observation is that a CBDC could remove the need for China to use the SWIFT system, or the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, on transactions within the country or with other countries using this CBDC that they create. China's digital payments could thereby make the country more independent from international money exchange systems and controls, which is a very big deal on a global level. While the Bahamas became the first country to issue a CBDC back in October of this year, many other countries are looking to do the exact same thing and have begun serious discussions about issuing a digital currency. According to a January survey covering about 66 central banks, the Bank of International Settlements, or the BIS, 80% of the central banks across the world are engaged in research or experimentation in the area of CBDCs. In October, the BIS published a report laying down some core principles and requirements that central banks should follow in developing and issuing their own CBDC. In this article, written in Blockchain News covering this issue, down here at the very, very bottom of the article, they made a really good point about the rivalry between the US and China in the fintech arena. While the US dollar still remains heavily in the lead as the global reserve currency, China's national digital currency is forcing the US government to accelerate its own plans to rethink its blockchain regulatory framework. Hence the letter from Ratcliffe to the CEC. China's DCEP, or the Digital Currency Electronic Payment Project, has been 6 years in the making, and it is a key part of the country's plan not only to safeguard its own currency's sovereignty from local tech giants, but also to shed its over-reliance on the US dollar and to promote its yuan internationally. China's central bank seeks to launch its own CBDC within the next few months amid strong endorsements of blockchain from all governments' authorities, signaling the country's desire to be globally competitive and self-reliant and adding another dimension to the rising China-US tech rivalry. So this is extremely big news in the world of cryptocurrencies, and particularly between the US and China. So with statements like this from China, it's easy to understand why it was reported that last month in the Breitbart report that the Trump administration indicated concerns about unclear and stringent regulatory practices from the CEC that are putting American companies in the digital currency space at a disadvantage on a global level. In fact, Ripple, one of the largest cryptocurrency companies in the US, wrote that the Chinese government subsidizes energy costs for crypto miners, and that at least 65% of Bitcoin mining and a large portion of Ethereum mining are dominated by China. Also in the Breitbart report, Senator Tom Cotton, who's a strong supporter of the crypto space for the US, expressed his concerns as well for a lack of regulatory clarity from the CEC, which he escalated to being a risk to both US national and economic security. The senator has stated that our government should not voluntarily cede that ground, failing to create a level playing field for the US-based companies through the development of clear policy that allows them to compete fairly against foreign competitors. So this obviously is clearly a competition between China and the US over the control of the digital asset space, and clearly is a competition on who will gain control over the global reserve currency. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button and subscribe buttons below. And remember that this is Crypto News, where newbies become masters.